Hey there, Zlatko here from Tako Agency and the host of the Tako Talk podcast. I also have my part-time co-host Lindsay joining me today. She's the managing director at Tako Agency. We hope you enjoyed the episode and thanks for tuning in today. On this episode, we had the pleasure to chat with Jason and Megan from Hubsearch. Hubsearch is a recruiter that helps some of the top companies find great talent to join their team. Their niche is matching some of the top HubSpot gurus with companies that are using HubSpot and need someone in-house to manage their entire HubSpot operation. Those of us that use HubSpot, it's no secret that HubSpot is a robust system that can do so many great things for a business. No matter if you're a company looking for contractors or employees to join your team and help you with all things HubSpot, or if you're somebody that is a HubSpot guru, Hubsearch can match you. If you need somebody to help you with your HubSpot needs, look no further. Just go to hubsearch.com and they will get you rolling. I hope that you enjoy listening to today's episode and hopefully it gives you a little bit of insight how the recruiting world works. All right. Thank you guys so much for being on the podcast. So I wanted to kind of just get you guys on here because we've had a relationship with you guys on talking through HubSpot. That's like our little tool that we all have a connection with. So I wanted to kind of just get you, Jason and Megan, on the call here and talk about everything. But first off, I want to introduce Lindsay, who's my managing director and my co-host. Lindsay, go ahead and tell them what you do at Tako.
Oh man, I oversee the daily operations at Tako. A big part of my job is keeping Z out of the day-to-day and taking work from him and opening up his time to do more strategic initiatives. But ultimately, I manage all the managers at Tako, oversee all the projects and all the nitty-gritty that goes into that. It can be literally anything on any given day because it's agency life, but touch a little bit of everything.
Greatest luxury for an agency owner of all time. So
she's Tako Mom. We call her Tako Mom.
Yeah, they call me the mom of Tako.
Love it.
And then you guys, go ahead, Jason.
You have the greatest luxury of all time, someone to replace some of your
It's been the biggest blessing. I tell her every day, like, I'm so grateful for finding her. This is where I find all those times you miss on Upwork, one time that you get it right is like you get somebody like Lindsay to just be able to handle things. And I'm just like, yes, win. For all the times we miss, we hit big.
We'll talk about all the times you missed later when we get to our search. I couldn't agree more. Megan is like the other half of Hubsearch. She's the greatest.
Exactly.
Helps me do all the things that allow us to deliver for the folks in our network. So I get it.
Awesome. You guys feel free to introduce yourselves and let people know what you guys do at Hubsearch.
Love it. So so Megan and I founded Hubsearch. Megan, what are we? A little over a year in, right?
Yep,
so
a year and 2 months.
Yeah. So I recruited for HubSpot for a bunch of years. It was a blast. I was a HubSpot employee, proud alum. Still probably bleed a little bit orange if some don't cut me. But if you were to cut me, I'd probably still bleed a little orange. It was a blast. I was there from 2012 to 2015. It was early. And we had an incredible time. So my team, which the audience here may care about, my team was me, Keith Pesca-Salita, who is now head of talent at Drift, Sean Marsters, who's now head of talent at Endeavor in Boston. So our little engineering recruiting team from HubSpot is now sprouted out and is basically running talent for some of the coolest startups in Boston. It's pretty neat. And long story short, Megan and I teamed up. We recognized an incredible opportunity to start the first recruiting company that was HubSpot focused on the planet. I'll be honest, I was blown away that nobody had done this. I fully thought, when we had this idea, we'd jump into this space and see 5 other companies, people had done this thing, and there was nobody in this space. So we founded the very first recruiting org that is exclusively devoted to the HubSpot ecosystem. So agency partners, solution partners, customers.
Love it.
It's been a pretty wild year. It's been a pretty cool year and a half.
I love it. I love it.
And Megan, so my role is sort of all the things you'd expect, like strategy, biz dev, just, head dog,
Top dog.
dog mom, dog dad, all the things, because we're very dog friendly.
Yes.
Same.
And Megan sort of does all things client facing, right? Megan is the person who helps us deliver to the very best of our ability.
And I also work very closely and oversee the recruiting team, of which allows me to work even closer with the client and make sure we find them exactly what they're looking for.
Yep.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So tell me about your guys' process in general when it comes from, let's say, an agency like ours comes to you and says, hey, we need somebody to help us with kind of getting up and running with HubSpot or something along those lines, or a business, or somebody comes to you and says, hey, we need somebody in HubSpot and we need them to do all the things. What does that kind of process look like on your end from start to finish? Do you have an existing database that you tap into, or do you go out and start searching for people that kind of fit the needs?
Yeah, great question. So it's sort of both, right? So the searches that we run are so specific. Everybody's preferences are so different. I mean, look, let me back up and talk about sort of like our core audience, right? The vast majority of organizations we work with are HubSpot solution partners, right? That was where we started. Originally, we said, hey, we are exclusively going to focus on the partner network, which was amazing. We did that for a year. We ended up opening it up to HubSpot customers as well to broaden our audience a bit. But for the most part, our audience is HubSpot solution agency partners between 3 and 35 to 40 employees, right? It ends up being a pretty narrow focus. And the stuff that we hear over and over and over is, we need a great digital marketer who knows HubSpot. We need a great account manager who is familiar with the HubSpot tools and can think about strategy and operational delivery, and also lead a team. We have these sort of ongoing recruiting efforts all the time. But in our world, we actually see a really cool variety of searches, right? Like Z, you and I talked about some of this stuff. Like we see developers, we see designers, we see SEO, PPC specialists, we see sellers. We just wrapped up a director of sales search for one of our favorite partners in West Michigan. So our whole world is sort of like, if you're in the HubSpot ecosystem in some fashion, we can help you grow your team, right? That's sort of the idea.
Love
with
it.
All of the caveats that includes.
Love it. It's such a beast of a system. Man, there's so many opportunities within HubSpot.
It's pretty cool. It's been really fun because we thought when we first launched this thing, we would see a pretty narrow spectrum, right? We really thought we need a strategist, we need an inbound consultant who knows HubSpot. And of course that's our thing. Like that's become our thing over and over. But I mean, good God, we helped one of our biggest partners in Manhattan hire a corporate recruiter because they said, hey, we just need some help in this other area. So our world has sort of become, as long as you're in this umbrella, right? As long as HubSpot is a part of the way you deliver for your team, for your customers, we can help you with whatever. We can apply great recruiting tactics to whatever you need. So we've seen a really cool spectrum of searches, which we love, right? That's what keeps it fresh for us. We have an incredibly deep network. We know a bunch of amazing people in this space, but we're always getting pushed a little further left and right. You know what I mean? We're always getting pushed for like, hey, could you maybe also help us find an internal recruiter who has happened to have worked on marketing positions before, right? So we're always getting pushed.
Yeah, absolutely.
To kind of piggyback off of that question, I'm curious about, because obviously Hubsearch it was a very intentional decision to focus on, HubSpot.
Yeah.
And can you talk a little bit about what your thought process was when making that decision and why you decided to pursue that as a focus?
Totally. So I make no secret of the fact that I had an absolute blast at HubSpot. Like that was, those several years were maybe the most fun I've had in my career. It was it was a great time. I mean, I got there when we were like, let me think for a second. 2012, we were probably like 600 employees. And I got a chance to see that through to about 3,000 employees, which included opening Dubspot. So I got to go to Ireland for 2 months in the summer of I'm probably confusing dates. I think it was the summer of 2014, but I got to spend 2 months in Ireland interviewing, recruiting, building the core Dubspot team. Like, just really cool opportunities to do things that most corporate recruiters, talent acquisition professionals don't get a chance to do, right? It was just a really cool time. So we, after HubSpot, I got a chance to do some fun startup-y things. Like I went on to do some work with Google Ventures, which was a blast. Helped them start a couple of startups like Adelphic, which was an incredibly cool time. We ended up getting acquired by the New York Times in 2017. Did a whole bunch of consulting for companies like Chewy, Klaviyo, Docwa, which is an awesome boating app that's 100% founded by ex-HubSpotters.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, like the John Negro, who's the guy that I worked with really closely at HubSpot, Jeremy Crane, who was our VP of product, went off to found this thing, which is, think of it as like hotel reservations for your boat, right? If you're going to take your boat from you're moored in Boston, you want to go to Nantucket, you've got to book yourself moorings along the way. You jump on the Docwa app, beautiful. It's just a very, very cool piece of technology. And it's a whole bunch of ex-HubSpotters. So I got a chance to help those guys build like a talent acquisition program, help them define like, what does recruiting mean? And a whole bunch of other companies. And it was a blast, but had always thought about, how do we get back to this HubSpot ecosystem, right? How do we get back to this space that so resonated with me? And Megan and I did an experiment. Full candor.
Love it.
Full candor. We actually started with another idea. We started with an idea of we think we're going to be a really directly focused engineering organization, probably in Boston, probably in startups. That's where my network is. And then grow it from there. And what we realized really quickly was we needed a better niche. And we felt like, hey, maybe there's an opportunity to spin up something that's very specifically dedicated to HubSpot.
Wow.
We tried it. We put together a business plan. We're like, you know what, let's give this thing a shot. We went to Inbound 19 and pitched it to everybody who would possibly listen to us. Mm-hmm. Things are just falling left and right of me. We literally went to Inbound and we're like, hey, do you think this is a good idea? Would you use this? And we talked to hundreds of people, and the feedback over and over and over was, amazing idea. I can't believe no one's done this before.
Yeah.
Let us know when you're ready.
That's usually when you know you're onto something good, when someone's like, I can't believe nobody's done this before.
Right. Because this model exists in other worlds. For instance, like there are recruiting organizations that exclusively do Salesforce, for instance.
Right.
Organizations that say, if you need a Salesforce Pro, if that's your thing, come to us. That's how we brand ourselves. And nobody had applied that model to the HubSpot world. And we're like, why not us? Not only why not us, who better than us, right? I mean, like, I got a chance to work for HubSpot. We should be able to say nobody will ever understand what you guys need better than we will. And that has just landed, and it's been awesome.
Love it. And Megan, did you ever work for HubSpot directly?
I did not work for HubSpot directly, but it was really a no-brainer when Jason and I thought about this opportunity, because right out of college, I helped a startup in Cleveland launch not only from a sales division, bringing within their company over $1 million within 1 year, which is huge, especially in the Cleveland market, but also being responsible for recruiting for their team as well. So finding the sales reps, finding managers, finding an accountant as well. So really building out that entire office from starting just me and the owner, building it to a 46 plus sales team with a whole executive office. And then I moved from that going to national sales within a medical industry, working with high-end physical therapists and sports teams. So at that, really, I was like, I love working with clients. I know I can handle the relationship part, but also really fostering their business and getting it to a growth standpoint where then Jason's expertise can come in as well. So from there is like, let's just test the market into exactly what Jason said. You know, I think we left Boston last year with no voices at all, just from talking to everyone, even people that didn't have booths, anyone that we can talk to, like, hey, I have a business idea. How do you feel about this? And again, the response was, that's incredible. Do you have a business card? And we did have business cards. So from there,
good.
which had my golden retriever on them, by the way, of course. How dare we not?
Yeah.
That was something too, where we were so excited and we felt so confident, and we had shirts that caught people's attentions as well. We had Jason's dog on the back of our shirt. So I can't tell you how many times just walking around Boston, people would say, is that your dog? Who's that dog? And it just sparked the conversation.
We literally
That's
had
awesome.
my golden retriever's face with a thought bubble that said Hubsearch ?
Oh, I love
A whole
it.
bunch
I
of people
love it.
were like, what is Hubsearch? And we're like,
Oh.
the shirts are working.
That's amazing. That's amazing. Now, how did you guys land kind of your first, like, I guess getting somebody placed either at a company or at a startup? Like, how long did that process take from the time you guys started the business to actually getting that first, like, placement?
That's a great question. So Megan and I will never claim to be marketers, right? For all honestly, it's kind of funny because for all the years that I worked for HubSpot, I've been talking about HubSpot. I am not a professional marketer by any means. Like, literally over the last year is the first time I've actually been in the HubSpot software, which was something that we were keenly aware of and was really important. So really early on, one of the things we knew we needed to be able to say to our clientele was, like, our client base was, look, we can interview for HubSpot skill, right? So a big part of the way that we went to market was we actually worked with a couple of consultants that we knew really well, who we knew to be HubSpot experts, who helped us build this interview structure, this interview strategy. Because one of the things in this world, and Z, I'm sure you've seen this, man, it's like there are plenty of people who have taken a weekend to get some HubSpot certifications.
Yeah.
But can't actually do a damn thing in the software. Right? Like,
absolutely.
You can't actually get in and be operational in the software. You know what I mean? So I felt like that was a no-brainer starting point for us. Like, how do we make absolutely sure that we can weed that type of person out and only be presenting folks who, like, we can say, we interviewed this person based on what you told us you need. They're amazing. They passed our interview. You're talking to them, whatever, later this week. Right. So we went to market with this thing. I'm trying to think, Megan, who was our very first search? Was it Thomas? Was Thomas our first?
Yeah. Yeah.
So Thomas Nutt's a huge agency in Manhattan, actually maybe among the biggest. Frankly, they just gave us a shot. They're like, look, we need help. We're trying to build an entire SEO PPC team. We need a bunch of web PMs. If this is your space, cool. We'll give you guys a shot.
Love it.
We dove in and we placed, God, we helped them. We placed 6, Megan, again, check me on this, 6 or 7 people in Q4 of 19. They basically said, we need a whole SEO PPC team. Oh, by the way, we also need a corporate recruiter, which we placed. And they're like, look, because our whole narrative is like, look, we're experts in this world. We've built this thing, but at the end of the day, great recruiting is great recruiting. Like, we can apply our tactics to whatever. The things we see most frequently are find us somebody amazing who knows HubSpot and all the dozens of flavors of that. But it was fun early on to be challenged. Like, go find us a kick-ass corporate recruiter, because we need you guys on marketing, but we also need someone thinking about, like, how do we hire a dozen entry-level sales reps a quarter?
Yeah,
you know?
I love it. See, I'm on the other side. When you were talking about those certifications, Lindsay knows this. I've been trying to pass my fucking certifications for so long. I can't get to that point because I'm in HubSpot all day long and I know the tool in and out from every aspect of things. But I'm sitting there watching these videos. I'm like, click, click, click. Like, we need to just keep. I can't do it. So I completely agree with you. It's like the whole thing with like a resume. I will choose somebody that I'd rather you show up and say, I don't have a resume, but I will fucking kick ass when you put me to work. That's the type of person that I'm willing to, bring in and say, hey, I'm willing to give this person a chance. If you're that confident, then
we talk about this stuff all the time. We're like,
yeah.
Like, we'll do a discovery call the potential client, right? They're like, they need to have X, Y, and Z certifications. And we're going, oh, okay, but those could easily be meaningless. Like there's actually a very good chance those are not representations of their skill in the software.
Right.
Which, I feel a little bad saying that because the HubSpot Academy has done such an insanely good job of developing this curriculum, but it's not a true representation of, do you know how to be a badass in the platform? It's just not.
Yeah. I mean,
there are actually some other companies. I actually got introduced to a very cool company a couple of weeks ago, which maybe we'll talk about later. But like, there are other organizations that are starting to come out with like mastery certificates in HubSpot. Like, great, we know you got your certification, whatever. We all know that doesn't really matter. Like, can you pass this much higher bar exam of your skill? It's wild how HubSpot has spun off this whole ecosystem. Like, we are a function of this ecosystem. There are other companies that are saying like, we're going to take HubSpot Academy to the nth degree and say, okay, if you can get this certification, cool, that's step 1. How do you get through step 10?
Wow.
Right? It's just become this whole like ecoscape of just really cool, really interesting mastery points.
Love it. Yeah, I'm not a certifications guy by any means. Like, I am the person who, that piece of paper, like I didn't even graduate college. Like, I'm just like, I went into the working world and I just started doing shit. Like, I just wanted to know that I could do things. Like, I get it. I know a lot of these systems, people are paying a lot of money and, all this, but man, it's just sometimes like sitting here, my ADD kicks in as soon as I start going through that video, and I'm just like, I can't do this. I can't. I tell myself, it's a problem that I tell myself I can't do this because I just don't want to do it.
I think you should like have a seat at the table for sure.
Yeah.
But it doesn't mean anything if you don't have the experience. I mean, it's the classic like person coming out of, a bunch of years of college and then straight into an MBA and they don't have any business experience. And they come out and every textbook, which you just can't. It's just not the real world.
Not agree more, yeah.
But in addition to it, I think there's some value in certain certifications. I can speak to that though. I mean, I've been in the PM world for about 10 years and I'm just now getting around to getting my PMP, and I'm just like, I know all this, but it's a good refresher. So,
yeah,
I think there's value in it.
Yeah, there's definitely value. I'm not against it, but I'm also
there's value. Yeah. There's value in a bunch. There's for sure value in certs.
Right.
But it can't be, especially in our world. It's not a clear cut like this person is an expert or not. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like a lot of companies that we interact with initially say, if you've got this thing, you must be great, and if you don't, you must not be great. It's not a binary thing, right? It's like, is it a cool indicator that you spent some time? Sure. Mm-hmm. But let's call it what it is. You can spend 4 hours on a Saturday and get some certification and still not have a goddamn clue how to operate in the HubSpot platform. And that's what we run into all the time. And I feel like a huge part of our value add is like, we're gonna help you, client, whoever we're working with, understand how to weed those people out. The people who like are really good at interviewing, have the buzzwords, understand what to say, but can't do the thing. Like our whole world is like, here are a bunch of people who can truly do the thing.
Mm-hmm.
Do you guys have some sort of guarantee when you place somebody in terms of like structure of days, like 90 days, like we guarantee this for?
Yeah. It's 60, but that's an incredibly important part of the whole thing. Like
because the culture, I'm sure sometimes doesn't even work out. It's not even the person. It might just be they don't fit into the culture of things.
Yeah.
And I speak from a place where my girlfriend's like an accounting and finance recruiter. So she was like, man, I found the best candidate, and I found the person that I know is going to be so good at their job, and they'll go to the interview and it's just like not a fit. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You just like, you don't fit into that.
Yeah,
and sometimes they'll still hire them on, hoping that somebody will kind of, get there and sort of thing. And then, it might not happen. And I think at that point, it's just like,
so we do 2 months.
Oh, that's good.
So say, and here's why we do that. So I tell all of our clients, it's our guarantee isn't a hedge against like Q1, Q2 performance, right? It's a hedge against, did a really good interviewer somehow slide through all of our process, right? Because it's a reciprocal thing. We're interviewing our hearts out because the last thing we want to do is have a short-term placement that sucks for everybody. As our clients, like, there's nothing worse than having a mishire. Like, that is more expensive, riskier than not making the hire, right? So our whole thing is like, how do we protect our partners against somebody who's really slick at interviewing but can't do the thing?
Yeah.
You know that in the first month.
How do you spot
For
those
sure.
people?
I'm thrilled that you asked that. So there's a bunch of different ways, right? So one of the things that we see all the time in our world is our clients will interview at very surface level, right? So we keep in mind our audience, right? Like you guys are sort of our audience, right? Like almost everybody we work with, almost every company that we work with is 5 to 35 employees, right? These are small to medium-sized businesses where we work with a whole bunch of founding teams who come to us and say, we need somebody awesome. That's as far as we've gotten. What the hell do we do next? We literally have no idea where to go next, right? Help us build an interview structure, interview strategy. Should there be a case study? Like, what the hell do we do? How do we manage this thing, right? So a huge part of the value that we deliver and something that's really important to us is the time emphasis. The heavy lifting is on our side, right?
Right.
We're gonna have to talk to 30, 40, 50 people.
Damn.
You client company, whoever we're running a search for, let's say it's Tako. You guys should have to talk to more than 5 or 6 people. Our job is to build you an exceptional shortlist quickly, right?
Wow.
We're not bypassing your process. Of course, you still have to interview, but we're saying here's 5, 6, 7 people who can for sure do the job. Super smart, super passionate, hit your culture points based on what you told us culture fit meant, and we know they can do the thing in HubSpot.
Right.
You guys decide which of these 5 or 6 people is the best option for you. Right? Like go ahead.
I was going to say, so how many phone calls a day do you and Megan get on every single day? That's what I want to know, because here I am over here trying to schedule all my calls. Lindsay and I do all our sales calls on like Tuesdays and Thursdays because we like to keep our working days, actual working days. I've been in that place where it's like, get a call in the middle of the day and then you got to go back to work. Doing. Like, your guys are, I'm assuming hundreds of calls a week. Am I off? Like,
oh, without question. I mean, we're interviewing, God, I don't even know, but amongst the entire team, 30-ish people a day.
Mm-hmm.
Holy,
like we're like, which is good, which actually is a great thing for us, because as this thing continues to evolve, as our business gets more mature, we are going to know we're probably still a year away from this, right? We're a young company, right? But we're going to know every single operator in the space. Like, we're going to get to a point in the not too distant future where we have this incredible data asset, right? We're going to have this database of people we can say, like, these 590 people near New York City know HubSpot inside and out.
Yeah.
And that's what's going to be an incredibly important value add to our thing. So right now, this is more of an internal thing, but it ends up being more heavy lifting on our side, right? So we get a brand new search in a new city, and a lot of our searches, no surprise, are national, right? Hey, find us somebody incredible. We don't care where they sit. COVID obviously is a part of that.
Right.
But of course, we still see searches that are like, this person needs to be in San Diego or Phoenix or whatever, right? So for us, the deeper we get into this world, the better for everyone. Like our reach, our network is growing in exponential ways. It's pretty cool. Like we feel like we're not far out from being able to say like, we know the HubSpot practitioners in the US. Flat
That's
out.
awesome.
Like we
That's
know
really awesome.
that's what we're working toward.
That's awesome. So Megan, let me ask you, what tools throughout the day do you guys primarily like? Do you guys use HubSpot pretty much for everything? Really? Like,
We're actually HubSpot customers ourselves as well. So, I mean, I have it up on my screen all the time. I bounce between a couple different recruiting platforms that we use with candidates, but primarily I'm living and breathing through HubSpot myself.
what other tools do you guys use? If I may.
Yeah, there's a bunch.
Are you guys Slack people too? Like, are you guys always on Slack?
God. So I'll give you the brief rundown of our technology ecosystem. So it's Slack, LinkedIn Recruiter, Connectifier, Hiretual, Crelate. Megan, what am I missing? I feel like I'm missing things. Rebump. We're a small team. There's only like 7 of us. So we have to be as technology enabled as you can possibly imagine. So like for us, our primary research tool is LinkedIn Recruiter. It's an incredibly expensive thing that allows every one of our recruiters to see literally everybody on LinkedIn. Mm-hmm. Here's the thing. Like we modeled this thing after what software organizations do to recruit for themselves.
Right.
Our tool set is very similar to what HubSpot uses in-house.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
All of the different talent discovery pieces of software you can imagine, we have access to, right? Because we have to amplify our small team, right? We have to amplify our ability to search, connect, engage, etc.
I love it.
There's all sorts of cool stuff.
We actually just started using Google and Gmail chat because we brought on a partner that specifically likes to work through that chat platform opposed to Slack. So that's something we just picked up last week. Pretty slick.
Yep.
See, we actually just had that conversation today. It's like clients wanting us to use their tools. And that's a really, really big no-no in my book, because like, to me, it's like, it already takes a village to get people on 1 or 2 tools. And it's like, if we're all in this like wheelhouse to work efficiently, and then you throw in this like wrench, it's like, hey, I want you to use this tool that, maybe 3 or 4 of us have used. I'm like, no. Like, we're not going to go down that route, because at the end of the day, it's more time spent. It's not everyone's familiar with your workflow that you have internally and like all this. So, and we're very like, it's kind of a weird mesh. Like, we're pretty closed off in terms of allowing people into our internal system, because there's so many things going off. I've tried to do that before even Lindsay came on, and it's like you're ready to submit something for a review for the client, and before it even gets to their ballpark, they're already commenting and leaving comments, and I'm just like, like, you know what I mean? So it's just like, it becomes this big issue. So I had to put a hard fork into that whole process.
We think a lot about that. So our original clientele, no surprise, was on the smaller side. And as we've gained more momentum in the space, we're starting to get looks and signing deals with like the global HubSpot elite partners, which has pulled us into a place where companies are saying, hey, follow our process. Here's how we do it. We want you to be an additive effect to our process, right?
Right.
Over and over, we've found ourselves pushing back. Like, that's not what we do. We're not an additive to your process. If your process was working, you wouldn't need us, right? If your thing was working, you wouldn't need to come to us. You're coming to us because it's not working. Right. So we're going to challenge you in the following ways. You're going to follow our process. And trust us, it's going to work. Like that's the biggest thing for us, is like, how do we quickly build that trust to be able to say, like, guys, we this is our whole world. Just buy into what we're talking about, and we literally guarantee you, that it's going to be more fruitful, more productive than your current recruiting process, because we've seen it. dozens and dozens of times over and over.
Yeah. No, that's a good guarantee to have, because a lot of people can't guarantee you shit.
For sure. It's like, honestly, maybe it works, maybe it doesn't. You paid for the hours. Okay. That is so far from our business model. Our whole model is like, if it doesn't work, you're basically off the hook. Right. I mean, we ask for a small retainer up front because it's so critical for us that we've got a ton of buy-in on either side. But like at the end of the day, the vast majority of whatever our cost is tied very directly to, did we find you somebody unbelievable who you want on your team?
Right.
Yes, cool. If yes, cool. There's a fee. If not, shit, there's no fee. Like you basically owe us very little for our time if we haven't dramatically produced.
And go ahead, Lindsay.
Oh, I actually have a question for both of you, kind of.
Love it.
About kind of, following that. How do you guys ensure that you're improving consistently, like as a team? Like, what are some of the tools that you use? Maybe it's a meeting, maybe it's updates. Like, how do you guys hold yourselves accountable to constantly adapt, especially in a space like recruiting where it's shifting?
Yeah, great question. I feel like we're still fortunate where that's an easy question because we're so small. If there was 30 of us, it would be a much harder question. We're an 7-8 person team, depending on if you count interns, right? Like we are literally talking all day, every day. So I feel like for us at this particular stage, that's an easy, quality control is easier because we haven't scaled yet. We're the first to admit we are not a scaled organization, right? We are a small recruiting team working to scale in this space, right? I think, Lindsay, to your point, I think once we hit in the next year, when we double our team, then how do we make sure we're successful? And I think it's a tool usage thing. Like, are we making sure we're using things like Trello, Asana? Like, how are we making absolutely sure we're hitting our quality metrics along the way, which we're thinking a ton about before we're even there. But not to skirt the question, but we're so connected as a team that like Megan and I are still fully aware of every candidate interview we have. Right, like Megan and I are actually still doing a bunch of the interviews. We have constant checkpoints with our recruiters, making sure that we're interviewing in a very selective way. So a little bit of an easier question because we're still at an early-ish stage.
And we still take chips away at it too. I mean, we're talking with HubSpot power users every single day. So you better believe when we're in that interview process, if they mention a new module or a new upgrade that I haven't heard yet, I dive right in. Where one, it's also identifying how involved is this person, but also two, it's learning moment for me as well to learn, there was a new upgrade that was released yesterday at 7 p.m. I have to dive into that right away. And I want to see how I can apply that to our business as well. So it's something that, especially with HubSpot, we're always keeping up with those trends, what's best practices, the upgrades. And we also do quarterly trainings with strategists in the industry with our entire team of, this is what's worked for me with a client. I tried this and it was a test and I epically failed and this is why.
Actually, we have one tomorrow. Like we have, so the woman who helped us build our own internal HubSpot ecosystem, we asked to do a refresher training on what are like 3rd and 4th level interview questions. Because she's a HubSpot user herself. She's like, we asked her to interview our recruiters to make sure they can pass their own HubSpot interviews. Like because look, if we can't say we've interviewed for culture and skill, what the hell are we doing? That's the whole value add, right? The whole point of what we offer is we know this person's gonna be a great fit for your team because you helped us understand what culture is, and we know they've got the skill to be a badass in the software.
Love it. And how many people are you guys looking to hire before the end of the year on your end?
I'll give you
how many is our CFO allowing us?
I'll give you a pre and post COVID answer. So our goal pre-COVID was to be at 12 employees by the end of the year.
Okay.
I think we're going to be a little short of that, right? So full candor, we're at 7 today. I fully expect us to be at 10 by the end of the year.
Nice. Okay. Nice. And how has I guess, process wise and placing people, how has COVID affected you guys? Since you guys are already, I mean, like you said, you have people requesting, hey, I want somebody in San Diego, but then there's somebody's like, I don't give a shit where they are. They could be anywhere.
Honestly, it's totally, I would say that if like pre-COVID, we were probably seeing, I mean, granted, this is going to be a little bit of a guesstimate, but I would say 75% of our searches were geography specific. I need this person in my office.
Oh, wow.
Higher than I expected.
Right. It was very heavily weighted. Granted, a bunch of partners in this world are fully remote, as you guys know, but it was very heavily weighted toward, I need this person in my office. We have seen the pendulum swing drastically the other way, which is a really interesting thing for us, right? It's like, we talk to our partners about this and our clients about this all the time. It's like, if you don't need this person in your office, that does really interesting things for your ability to search for the best talent, right? You're going to save money depending on your location, right? No surprise. A lot of our clients are in major metropolitan areas, right? Boston, New York, Austin, San Fran, the cities you would expect, right? Of course, a bunch of our stuff is centered there. And now we have the ability to say, look, if you're open to somebody sitting elsewhere, you're going to save 15, 20% on your salary. Like there's a drastic dollars and cents impact on your ability to recruit nationally. And to be hyper candid, it makes our jobs easier also.
Right.
If someone says this person must be in Houston, okay, we're going to go deliver. We're going to go find somebody amazing.
Shrinks, yeah.
We're going to deliver, but we as a team now know that if someone says, find us somebody kick ass, and I don't care where they sit, that takes 3 weeks off our search.
Right.
Because now we know we can go to our full network and go like, anybody who's awesome, we're going to talk to about this thing.
Yeah.
That's for sure been the biggest item that we've seen is that it's for sure, it's slowly but surely making this ecosystem much more open to fully distributed teams.
That's also where it gets super fun too. I mean, because then the next question is, well, how the heck do I hire someone while we're remote right now? So
100%.
then that's where our expertise really comes in handy, especially with Jason's background, being able to design an onboarding process, what a 30, 60, 90 day should look like for someone, or even the importance of treating your remote employees just as if you're sitting right next to them in the office. Like there's so many different things you could do outside of having standing meetings, like using Slack, for instance, pinging them every couple hours, or just being able to jam out together that closely while not being in the same building.
Yeah, absolutely.
I couldn't agree more. Megan makes an awesome point. Like of course, our primary value add is find somebody amazing for the thing you're hiring for, but there's so much other stuff we do. I mean, like my whole world for the years leading up to founding Hubsearch was all about talent acquisition consulting. Like, again, how do you think about interviewing? What does it mean? How do you think about candidate et cetera? Just all the stuff that goes into finding the right person, right? But when we talk about this all the time, it's like getting a great hire is step 1. Step 2 is onboarding them, which is really hard. Step 3 is keeping them for a whole bunch of years, which is really hard. Right. So we end up if I'm being totally candid, that's the stuff that I geek out about. Like I love when I get a founder on the line who is like, we need this thing, but also how the hell do we make sure we bring them onto the team in the right way? Like, what should we be thinking about for benefits? How do we protect our investment in a new person?
Yeah,
like
absolutely.
That's where we get a chance to play and have a whole bunch of fun with founders on like getting someone great is step 1. Keeping them for a whole bunch of years is step 2, and frankly is harder.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Getting someone great is hard. Keeping them forever, or I shouldn't say forever, but keeping them for a bunch of years is a whole different challenge.
And are you guys also seeing people requesting for a lower kind of entry point of salary as well, because those people don't have to be in that local area driving, wasting money on gas and all this?
It depends. So we, don't get me wrong, we still see a whole bunch of searches that are like, this person has to be in Philly.
Yeah,
or
yeah, of course.
or
Yeah.
whatever, right? And a part of our narrative is always like, if that's what you need, cool, we will go deliver. However, keep in mind, if you give us the option to say this person can be anywhere in, and maybe it doesn't necessarily need to be anywhere in the country. Maybe it's anywhere in the time zone, right?
Right.
You say, hey, I just need somebody in EST because that's what our clients are used to. Fine. If we can go find you somebody in whatever, Ohio, Pennsylvania, like that's literally going to save 15-ish, 20% on your salary. The skill level is still there. The only difference is they're not physically going to be with your team.
Yeah, and you could probably take that money and get them over to your office if you really need them to by paying for their.
Exactly right. Take the savings, fly them out a couple times a year, still save 10%.
Right.
And now drastically broaden your ability to recruit top talent.
Absolutely.
Which is very, very, very hard to do yourself, right? I don't want this to sound super self-serving, but like really, really damn hard to run a national search yourselves.
Oh, trust me.
Right?
Trust me, we know that better than anybody over here.
It's just a ton of legit. It's really hard. So like, I think our service is sort of obvious. Like what we do is sort of obvious. It becomes even more obvious if you're saying like, we don't care where this person sits. Go find us somebody badass.
Right.
We don't care where they sit. It allows us to shine in even more cool ways where we can be like, look, not only is this person a badass, but they're 15 grand under your max budget.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know?
I mean, I wish you were in the Shopify developer world so we can hire you, because literally, like, I feel like you found a niche for HubSpot. There's a niche growing in the Shopify developer world.
We'll offline that conversation. We'll figure that one out. That's a whole.
Like,
convo.
it's mind blowing how many people tell you they can do something and they can't, and it's just.
Dude,
like,
we'll go recruit a lead recruiter from Shopify. We'll roll them in. And we'll say, hey, now we've got a Shopify like business arm. That'll be.
I just gave you a whole nother leg to your business.
I love it.
Yeah, no, that's really awesome. But overall, when you guys are now kind of growing your company, I know you guys have a few interns and different things. What are they sort of doing on a day-to-day? Are you guys having them be client facing, or is it, because I know Megan had reached out to us in terms of like some of the HubSpot, and we just weren't in a place of like being able to bring anybody on board. But at the same time, it's like, I'm really curious about how involved interns are, because it's always appealing to me. But our business on such a fast pace sometimes in the development world that we have a junior developer right now, and we literally want to make sure that like we keep him and we keep molding him to be the greatest person that he can possibly be, and he's so open to it. So finding that person that's open to it and knowing like, hey, listen, I'm not an expert here, but I'm willing to learn, versus somebody that comes in and is just like, hey, I know everything, and then you come to find out they know nothing, and then you got to figure out, how do we go about this? So what are your interns actually, what are your responsibilities for your interns as they come in?
We feel incredibly fortunate to have. So our first formal partnership with HubSpot is exactly in this space. So we got introduced to their HubSpot has this thing called the Education Partner Program.
Okay.
It totally flies under the radar. It's a part of the academy that I think most people are unaware of. And in another absurdly genius move from HubSpot, it's basically a team at HubSpot that is recruiting professors across the US and saying, hey, we're going to give you enterprise for free. Build curriculum for your students that is inbound / HubSpot specific. I mean, wow. Absolutely brilliant, right? So literally HubSpot is now creating the next generation of HubSpot users before they're even out of school. It's crazy. Incredibly intelligent decision. We got introduced to the woman who runs this program, who actually came to us and said like, hey, we need help finding students internships in this world. Hubsearch, can you connect us with your network? We said, hell yeah, we can. Amazing, right? So we This past year, this past summer, so summer 2020 was the pilot. We kept it very small intentionally. And we went out to a group of like our core network and said like, we're going to get access to some really smart students, like some really intelligent students looking for internships. Do you want to be a part of this thing?
Right.
We ended up placing like 15, 16 interns this summer, and there's no charge for this stuff. Like this is just, it just felt like a really fun opportunity for us to add even more value back to this world. Right. So, it was super valuable for us. We actually just converted both of our interns. Hannah is an intern from UNH. Unbelievable. We just asked her to stay on indefinitely. Paul is our other intern from Harvard, who we also said, hey, you're amazing. We'd love for you to stay on indefinitely. So we ourselves now have 2 part-time employees rolling into the future who are super sharp.
I love that you guys are drinking your own medicine, because I think
we have to. Oh, we have to, right? Like we feel like we hit the lottery. Like we got these 2 incredible interns who are now going to be a part of our team rolling forward. And we helped our partners hire 12, 15, whatever it is, other interns. And I'm sure there are full-time offers coming there.
Right.
Long story short, it's just another way for us to add value. Like look, we're passionate about helping the companies in this space, bro. That's our whole world. So
love it.
Whatever we can do to help, we will. And if it means funneling interns left and right, awesome.
Yeah, I love it. I love it.
We actually had a call with Northeastern today about how do we keep this thing rolling? Like we're sort of using ourselves as the test case. Like we as an organization would love to have interns at all times of the year.
Right.
Because why not? I mean, these were 4 credit interns. These were $0 interns. So we had really, really sharp students committed to helping our business grow for literally $0 for course credit.
And how long do you guys, is it 6 months, a year?
Complete no-brainer. So this was for the summer.
Okay.
We're working right now with HubSpot and with Northeastern and a couple of other universities to figure out like, how do we keep this thing rolling year round?
Okay.
We feel very confident there's a bunch of organizations in this space who would be like, yeah, why wouldn't we want super sharp students for free, essentially, helping us build content, think about strategy, do biz dev, do documentation, whatever it is. So we're trying to figure out like, what's the underlying structure? Because most people equate internships with summer. But that doesn't necessarily need to be the case, right? We feel like there could be co-op opportunities, there could be fall internships, especially if these are students who are part of programs where they already have seen HubSpot software.
Yeah.
Right? Because their professors have access to enterprise. HubSpot's giving them like $6,000 a month worth of free software. It's crazy. Jesus. And saying like, teach your students how to use this stuff. And on top of that, Hubsearch, can you help these guys find internships in the network? It's been pretty cool. It's been a fun pilot. Next summer is going to be much, much bigger, and we're trying to figure out how do we keep this thing rolling year round.
Yeah. Are you guys sad that inbound is not happening this year?
Oh my God.
Yes, it breaks my heart.
We had a booth. We were sponsors.
Oh wow.
We were ready to go kick ass. Like we had our whole team going.
We had swag gear. We had our marketing ready. We had everything ready.
Look, for a small, full candor, for a small company, we way stretched our budget to be sponsors.
Yeah.
Because we're like, this is our Super Bowl, right?
Right. That's a good way of putting it.
Every single person we talk to is in our world.
Yeah.
Either you're going back to a company that uses HubSpot or you work for it. Like everybody that we could possibly pull to our booth was in our space. We were so bummed to see.
Yeah. Lindsay and I were talking about, well, first was Inbound for a little bit. Then it was Shopify Unite conference, and that got canceled early on in the year. And then we started talking about how we could put together something where it's like more meetup stuff. And then the whole COVID shit like just happened. And we're just like, are we ever going to even get to go out and talk to these people? It's going to be emails all day long. Like, I'm tired of this.
Virtual.
Yeah. And look, I love HubSpot's idea. I think the virtual conference is going to be really cool.
Right. But it's not the same. Like you can't. This is literally what it's going to be. What we're doing here, and you're just going to be in a different room.
I'm honestly
Yeah.
curious to see the numbers on whether people turn out or less now that they can just hop on from their computer.
I totally agree. Like, it's going to be cool, but it's just not the same, unfortunately.
Yeah, it's definitely not.
Because look, Meg, we all went to Inbound last year, and like I kid you not, we literally pitched our idea for Hubsearch to everybody, every human being who was willing to listen. We had thousands of conversations.
Yeah, Thursday and Friday, we were the last people to leave the building. Like
we literally had
thousands
thousands of
up, and we're the last ones.
Oh wow, that's dedication right there.
Every single human being who was willing to listen to us, we talked to and pitched and asked for feedback.
I love it.
And we were so excited to do that again this year because we felt like, okay, we're 1 year removed. We are at an enormously advanced stage. We've got a whole bunch of cool clients. We've had a bunch of success. How do we keep evolving?
How do you keep rolling?
We were totally bummed.
Yeah, and we had candidates that we've worked with or we've interviewed that were like, hey, looking forward to meeting you at Inbound. So we had a list of at least 70 different candidates that were there that we're all going to go get together and go out one night too. But
founders like other, founders of other agencies who had sponsorship, like we were going to throw a big party. Anyway, total bummer because it was going to be a blast.
Oh man, that's so unfortunate.
I have a question for both of you.
Yes.
What is, well, I won't say the biggest learning, but what is the one learning that if you could go back and tell yourself when you guys started, what is the learning that you've learned that you wish you could tell your past self or would have?
Megan, you go first.
Jason needs time to think.
I have my answer. I know what I think it is. I want to hear Megan. You go first.
No, so that's not fair because
now there's pressure.
I know, right? Totally. All right, I'll go first. If you want me to go first, I will. I think stick to our process.
I was just going to say be more aggressive with our process. Is that too aggressive?
We have to be very assertive with the way we operate.
Right.
Because it's very different than what most founders, what most agencies are used to. And that's not a bad thing. Right? We get a lot of pushback on our process sometimes because it feels very foreign. It feels alien. It feels different. But we know it works. We've seen it work over and over and over because our process is very different. Like, again, we're not a staffing agency. Like it would kill. Right. It would literally be nails on a chalkboard for anyone to ever call us a staff. That's not what we do. Mm-hmm. Right. The way we deliver is much more akin to like executive search. Like working with Hubsearch is essentially saying, I now have a killer recruiting team sitting down the hall in our office. Like that's what it should feel like. That's the whole point, which means we're not a vendor. We are part of your business. We interviewed this person. They're awesome. We don't care we care what you think about the resume, but these are not professional resume writers. Whether you see on the resume or not, we already interviewed this person. We're telling you they're great. You have to talk to them. Right, which is very different than most recruiting companies, which is like resume. What do you think? Do you want to talk to them? We don't operate that way. It's like, we interviewed that person. They're great. You need to talk to them on Thursday at 2 p.m., whatever it is.
Wow. Love it.
So I think for us, the biggest learning has been don't acquiesce to organizations that are like, nope, if you don't want to run our process, then there's no partnership because that defeats the whole part. The whole purpose is we've built this thing because your process obviously isn't working. If it was, you wouldn't need us.
Yeah. It's tough though when you're starting off to know 100%. Where that line is.
Totally tough.
Right. It's on my calendar.
Right. It feels awful to say like, oh, you don't want to run our process? Okay, maybe it's not it feels awful as a tiny company, right? As a small organization. But like one of the things we've realized over the last several months is like, we built this thing based on years of evidence, years of hiring success. And I'm just going to go ahead and say it. Most organizations in this world aren't very good at hiring. It just is what it is.
Right.
If they were, these conversations would be very different. These are founders who know marketing, who know inbound, who know engineering, who know design at an incredibly deep level. but don't understand how to scale their teams. That's where we come in.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm gonna throw myself into that same pot right there. Honestly, like it's not my cup of tea. I know how to do so many things, but hiring is not one of them. And sometimes I'm just like, we need to figure out a way to do this. We don't have the funds at the moment because, you know, as an agency, it's like, it's tough. Like every time that new month comes around, it's like, okay, are these people going to pay their bill? Are we going to have, you know, cash flow? It's an
Trust us,
ongoing
we get it.
grind.
Trust us, we get it. Yeah.
You know, and it's like, to me, it's like, I would love to, I was talking to somebody the other day and, you know, they paid their recruiter like 30 grand. It was like one of those things. I'm just like, whew, but he said the guy's doing, you know, sales better than he was able to, and he's the founder of the company. It's like one of those things that's,
our fees aren't 30 grand. That's an enormous number. So good for that agency for being able to sell that price. But look, our whole thing, and we talk about this a bunch, is like, whatever our fee ends up being, is it going to feel awesome to write that check day one? Of course not.
Right.
We're realists. We get it. It's a capital investment in your business. A year from now, when you look back and say, this person, this new hire allowed me to drive 3x their salary.
Yeah.
The fee to the agency was the biggest no-brainer in history. We'd pay that 10 times out of 10 because whatever it was, let's say it was 10 grand. That 10 grand allowed us to make an extra 80 grand in revenue. Biggest no-brainer.
Right. Yeah. Right. Absolutely.
Right. So we see that all the time.
Yeah, absolutely. So what I was going to ask, I had a question that I was going to throw at you guys, but I completely forgot now. But no, what I was going to say is when you guys are moving in the direction of working with agencies, you know, what is the biggest kind of, outside of like us not knowing as founders sometimes who we're hiring, what is the biggest obstacle for you guys in working with, let's say, an agency of 20 to 30 people and finding those candidates that will fit that? Because culture of 10 people versus 30 people can drastically change. What is that obstacle that you guys hit every time? Is it culture, or is it just getting them into that workflow of that agency? Because I know for us, we just migrated from one system to another, and then there was like a couple of people that we brought on board in kind of in the midst of those things, and it just like throws a wrench into a lot of different processes, and it's like you're almost like, man, I should have waited a month even, but you know, we couldn't wait. We needed somebody immediately.
I honestly think the biggest thing that I may answer this question a little bit differently than what you asked, but like when we're qualifying an opportunity, right? Because again, we're a small team, right? Megan and I need to be completely sure that if we accept a search, because look, we don't accept all searches.
Right.
We're the first to admit that. Sometimes we do a discovery call and there are wildly unrealistic expectations, or something doesn't feel right. On a regular basis, we say, hey guys, it doesn't feel right. Good luck. Like, and it sucks to say that, but at the end of the day, we've got a small team. We have to protect our time, and Megan is never gonna put us in a position where we can't deliver to our capability, because we're very, very good at what we do. But it's like, if we take on a search and we know going in the expectations are unreal, like, I feel like I need a 10-year digital strategist and I've got $50K to spend.
Yeah.
Guys, God bless you. But at the end of the day, your expectations are unrealistic. So I think realistic expectations based on historical data is probably the most important qualifier. The other piece that we listen for is, are you looking for a partner, or are you looking for a vendor? Right. Are you looking for someone to show you a bunch of resumes that you can review and say, maybe, maybe not? Or are you looking for someone who can say, do you have the wherewithal to say, this is not our expertise. We don't claim to be experts in this world. We need something different, because there are a million staff. If you just need a bunch of resumes, go work with somebody else, right? That's not us. I'm the first to say it. If all you want is top of the funnel volume, go work with the 1,000 other agencies out there. If you want someone who's going to help you understand, like, how do you create talent acquisition programs that become a strategic advantage to allow you to get better talent than your competitors, like that's where we come in. So I think it's so important for us to qualify really heavily up front and make sure we're taking on the right types of searches. because
Yeah,
we're super selective.
yeah, that's good. I think it comes down to, as much as they're interviewing you as a possible partner, you have every right to interview them as well. I mean, at
Oh,
the end of the
100%.
day,
And I'm
I
sure
mean,
I'm sure you guys feel that. Like if if you're having a discovery call, I'm sure there's been situations where you feel like your expectations are way the hell off here. Like there's no way we can deliver what you're asking for in this budget or in this time frame.
Yeah.
Maybe it's not a good fit.
That's usually the number one thing. That's usually the number one
We
thing.
have to be able to say the same thing because we look like any other agency, marketing, digital, recruiting, whatever it is, literally our reputation is all we have. We're in a very small space, right? We start to underdeliver or we do something dumb, whatever it is, as soon as our reputation gets tarnished, we're like, it can't happen. Like our reputation is all we have.
Right. Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, this is really awesome. Is there anything else you guys want to cover and give people information about? I mean, I think this is super helpful, just even for us as a learning process of like recruiting and, how we want to approach things maybe going forward. You know what I mean? Because, we haven't pushed that green light on getting a recruiter, but I think we definitely, as we grow the business, I think that definitely falls into something that we have to start thinking about, maybe, come top of the year type of thing, and set aside a budget for it at the end of the day.
What else would I say? I think we're actually in kind of a cool spot as a company where like we ourselves are trying to figure out how the hell do we market Hubsearch. And we're trying to figure, okay, our target audience are professional marketers.
Yeah.
Right.
So like we ourselves just relaunched our website, are just trying to figure out what the hell does good email outreach look like. So we find ourselves in this really interesting spot. We know recruiting really well, but we are not marketers. So so we're always like, we think our website looks great. We just relaunched it. We hope our blog is hitting. We're trying to put up all sorts of cool, like downloadable content, templates, just useful stuff, whether you work with us or not. Like, here's how you build a 30, 60, 90-day plan for a new hire. Here's what onboarding looks like. Here's a checklist. So we're trying to push as much really cool, valuable stuff out to the ecosystem as we can. I think that's the area that for us is kind of like a fun exploratory thing. Like, how else can we just push cool stuff back out to this world?
Right. No, that's awesome. I think that's everyone's game plan, especially in COVID times nowadays. It's like everyone's just trying to get in front of the next person, make sure that they're giving away something for free, or that their blog is firing off and different things like that. I mean,
so one of our favorite blogs here, we created a blog series called Hire Like HubSpot.
Oh, nice.
Which is literally all about like no trade secrets, of course, right? HubSpot will sue us. But like what are the lessons that I took away from companies? Like I was at Wayfair, I was at HubSpot, I did some Google Ventures work. Like the idea is, what are the things that everybody should be doing as a best practice? Mm-hmm. Whether you work with a recruiter or not, like what should you be doing? And we're about to publish an ebook in the next couple of weeks of like, here are the top dozen lessons that I personally took from HubSpot of like, how did they become one of the world's best talent acquisition engines?
Yeah.
HubSpot's recruiting team is exceptional. I'm pumped that I got to be some small part of it, but like Katie Burke, for instance, their head of people, she's scary brilliant. Like she's exceptional. There's so much horsepower and so much thought that goes into HubSpot's. How do we attract the very best people on the planet?
Yeah.
We're trying to help disseminate some of that knowledge, like back out to the community.
Yeah, I love it. So tell people where you guys are most, I guess mostly on Twitter is your, bread and butter. LinkedIn. I know you guys are very heavy, obviously. LinkedIn.
Full camera. We're still trying to figure out our channels. Again, marketers, we are not. Like, so I think honestly,
that should be your website headline. We are Hubsearch people, marketers, we are not.
Right. Like we're still trying to figure it. Like we can interview for HubSpot skill, but we don't claim to be expert HubSpot marketers ourselves.
Right.
So
Right.
Luckily, we've built a really good format to interview for other people's skill, but like we don't claim to be the people who are pulling the levers. So I think that we're very proud of the new Hubsearch.com. Very proud of it. I think it needs a ton of work for sure. It's not a done product, but we're very proud of the new website. We're very proud of the new stats that we've got up there. We're very, very proud of our testimonials. Like nothing in our world is more impactful than, let's say, an elite HubSpot partner saying, Hubsearch kicks ass. We would never have been able to hire this person without their help. And that's happened a bunch of times. All the way up and down the spectrum. Like, we're very lucky to have cool testimonials, and we're continuing to build that stuff out. But just, word of mouth, word of how we've been able to deliver is that we're probably most proud of.
Love it. Well, that's really awesome. Lindsay, do you have any other questions or anything?
Yeah, I have one more question. It's going to be a personal one. I'm just curious. What are you guys reading right now?
Yes, love this.
Love it. Megan, you go first.
I'll admit I'm not a huge reader. I'm more of a podcast listener.
There we go.
Lindsay emailed me and said, "Hey, we have this thing going on. Are you interested?" I was like, "Heck yeah, I am." I would count us in. I'm more of a podcast listener as well, so I listen to that on the background, more music. So I'm not much of a reader. In complete transparency, I'm not going to BS you.
I love it.
What are some of your favorite podcasts?
So as we mentioned before, Joe Rogan is definitely one of my favorites. So
yes.
With that being one of the most popular, I love that one. I also listen to a lot of agency podcasts. You can call me super lame, but I love Maury Creative's podcast. The one that Jed and John run are awesome. It's something that really
Inbound and Down is amazing. If anyone's not listening, if you're not listening to Inbound and Down, they let off with Halligan this year. Like they have very, very high end guests, and it's a very cool thing.
Love it.
Usually my morning consists of listening to other agencies' podcasts. It helps me, one, I'm more connected within the ecosystem, but also I learn a ton from it too. And I'm the type of person where I like to listen to it and read it. So the first thing then I go to is their website and learn on their most recent blog. So afternoon is more the fun podcasts I listen to, like Joe Rogan or even anything Barstool related. And then I'm big on music. I grew up in a very music-oriented family, so new music coming out is my jam, where I get in my groove of things.
Okay, Meg,
you gotta get with Lindsay on that.
Yeah, I love that.
Underplaying it. So her dad was literally the agent for. Throw some names out.
Whitney Houston.
Literally Whitney Houston's agent.
Wow.
Yeah, Pink. So yeah, when I say I grew up in a family that was pretty aggressive, like I was traveling around a majority of
crazy stuff.
Yeah. Oh man, that's crazy. Lindsay's your girl when it comes to music, though. She is like
for a music magazine.
My friends call me New Release Megan because my dad will literally text me and be like 2 months ago, he's like, Taylor Swift's releasing a new album called Folklore. I'm like, tell me more. Last week, and I'm like, I knew it. I told my friends that. My friends are like, your dad's still in the game now. I'm like, yeah.
I love that.
I think I read a book. The last book I read that I thought was interesting was a book called Inspired. It's a product management book. So I did some consulting for a company called Path AI. Really, really cool.
Yeah, I've heard of Path AI.
You know those guys? Yeah,
I've heard of it.
Computational physiology, biology, cancer detection. Very cool stuff. And we, our VP, Dawn, the VP, Dawn of engineering, said, hey, if you really want to understand product management, read a book called Inspired.
Huh.
So we dug in.
I haven't read it, so I'm going to note that down.
That's me and Lindsay, but we live and breathe product management.
It was all about how to create tech products that people love.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Very, very cool book.
Oh, I love that. I'm definitely going to have to check that out. I have one book recommendation if you guys haven't read it, Atomic Habits.
I literally just downloaded that on
It's a good one.
Audible 3 days ago.
Life changer.
Oh, I'm super excited to dive into it. I'm excited because that's for all my ADD, that's the hardest thing for me to do is really define good habits. So I'm super excited to dive into that.
I'll tell you one thing. You'll notice how many good habits you have. You're like, oh, that actually, it almost like when you think back, it's like having this water bottle sitting on your desk to remember
Yes.
to drink water. You're gonna be like, oh, I'm really good at that. And then it takes you to a whole different spectrum where you're just like, oh, I am so horrible at this. Like it just
I totally believe it. I'm super pumped for it.
Yeah, no, it's an awesome book. Well,
Awesome.
I do appreciate you guys being on the podcast. I think
This was
this
a
is
blast. Thank
awesome.
you so
I think
much.
you guys dropped a lot of gems for people to understand not only your business, but I think overall recruiting and how it works and how effective it can be if it's done the right way. So I do want to say thank you guys for being here and kind of giving us all that information, and much success to you guys in growing your team. I think that's really, really awesome. And, we probably will be reaching out within the next few months to get some HubSpot people on our team because we love HubSpot. We see
there's going to be a lot of cool opportunities for us to jam together over the years. So yeah, we're super excited. Thanks so much for having us on this thing. It's been a blast.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you guys. I appreciate it. And you guys have a good rest of your day.
All right, guys. Take care. Thank you so much.
Thanks,
Bye.
Bye, Lindsay.
Bye.
See ya.